All right, welcome to Right Life Draw, folks. We are finally at part 13. It has been a long time coming, as it's taken me quite a while to get through this page because of work and a dozen other things to do and take care of in life. So, as I've told you all before, and if you're new and this is your first time coming through the channel, I'm working on an Eon board. I was originally penciled by Mr. Carlos Franco, a good friend of mine, great comic book penciler out of New York, and I'm serving up the inks. This is the character of Brave, as I wrote it all down here. I'm sorry, this is the character of Merida from the movie Brave, voiced by Kelly MacDonald, released June 5th, 2016. I've been working on it as a sort of how I do what I do tutorial for the last 12 episodes of these tutorials. So I had to do some of this off stage and off camera view because otherwise this would be exceedingly long, and we don't have that much time at the cafe where I'm located at now, and I wouldn't have much time. It would just take too long, folks. There wasn't a lot to finish, but I obviously did from the last episode you saw. I did fill in the blacks right here. I fill in the blacks for her. We have the trusty clock here, as you guys remember that. It always goes with me wherever I go. Let me do this clear. Let me do the minutes here. Let's see where we are. We're at 1 minute. All right, let's do 10 start. All right, we're at a 10-minute mark. So needless to say, this is going to be mostly just ceremonial. This is almost done. Almost completely done for my flavor. I have to finish the wings of the pixie here. And Mr. Franco had originally given her a flare of the hair that kind of reminiscent of the Phoenix from the character of Marvel Comics, the X-Men. As you can tell here, he sort of snuck in a wolf in the background and behind the tree here, so that's almost done. Actually, it is done. And then the backwoods here on the darkness of the night. So that's going to be filled in. These are going to be spotted blacks here, here, and there. So let me just get to a little bit of that before we call this done. If this is, again, if you've been coming back time and time again, I thank you. I know people have been watching the videos, so I thank you for watching, and I appreciate each and every single one of you all. If this is your first time, please, by all means, just go back in the queue. You'll find the previous 12 episodes of the how tutorial, how I do what I do tutorial, and you'll see it develop. And you'll have more information as to, when I got this, who I got this for, which is basically my granddaughter. But I'll go into further information about that in the previous videos. Let me make sure this is within frame, because if not, this is going to be all for naught. All right, so here we're going to, actually, I'm going back to my trusty Sharpie. Sometimes this particular pen, I always go into detail. I'm sorry, folks, about the materials, but I can't help myself. This is a 0.5 copy Maltic liner, and it's really good. It's not the zero, it's the 0.05 Copic multi-liner. There's either something wrong with this point. I think I've worn it to death, or let me check something. Hold on. I need to redraw her wing and separate it from the one on the here. Let's see if I can actually do this live and in living color here. There we go. Now I want to make sure that on this figure in particular, if you notice, I've thickened up the lines on the bottom side of the wings and on the back side of her body as she's facing that way on the board. Meaning, let me take this paper away so I can show you what I mean. So basically, this was a nighttime scene, and whenever you're inking something, whether it's sequential or otherwise, the light source is going to be key. You have to know that before you start inking. Either you know it intuitively, or you spoke with a penciler, and that was clarified if you had any doubts about where the light source lies. I already knew where this was coming from, how it was done, so I knew that my light source was coming from the background and up above the character. So it's basically, it's not sunlight, but it's moonlight. And here, these radiant stripes that he laid out here, again, this is just very magical creatures, so I assume that that's what he meant in the long run. I could have left this more as a day scene, which means that a lot of this would not have received the spotted blacks, but I think it plays really well as a nighttime scene. So it could have gone either way, but I think because of these lines that could go into question as to whether it's a daytime or nighttime scene. I know it seems frivolous, but it's not. If you're doing sequential art, or you're doing comic book work, it's its own niche and its own little. It has its own little rules that we go by. Let me see. I've been using the 0.5 a lot with the Copic multiliner to do things like this. So let's just get to it on camera. Make sure that I give you all what you came here for, not just to hear me, you know, rant on about materials and tools and this, that, and the third. All right. And I hope this video finds all of you in good health and doing well out there in the world, wherever you're at and wherever you're watching this from. Do chime in on the comments. Leave me a message. Send me an email. Let me know where you're viewing the video from. What city, what state, what country. I'm always up to learning all that. Now here I made a halo around the tree. I'm going to show you why. Actually, I had to use this Presto jumbo correction pen. Basically, it's white paint. It serves a purpose. Let me add a little bit more. We're going to create that halo there and leave the tree trunk alone because I think I've already overworked it to death. Also, when you use this correction marker, you can see it there. Yeah, let me get it close up to the camera. Or any type of paint, you got to give it a little bit of time to dry. If you start putting your hands on top of it, you're going to smear it. That's what I had done up here. I had to clean that up. These pixies actually have the power signature of a character called Sunspot from the Marvel Comics New Mutants. Whoever reads comics and knows those characters knows what I'm talking about. So I went in there. This is like, I don't know, 2 episodes, 3 episodes ago, and I botched it up and messed it up because I put my big fat hand on it. And but those are mistakes that you know, learn to overcome and deal with. Like I keep telling you all from the very first episode, this channel is all about mistakes. Let's make as many mistakes as possible because that's how the sausage is made. And that's how you get anything worthwhile. So let's see. Let me go back to I'm losing track of the numericals. There we go. So this is, I'm using the Copic liner again, 0.5, to get into the trunks of the trees. This particular tree trunk, just to cast some shadows in the bottom. And as you can tell here. All right. And then we're going to go to this little, all of these parts are, let me rephrase that. I think inking is like, it's the same as penciling, but it has a, you come at it from a different point of view. When you're penciling something, you're laying down the basic structure. When you're inking, however, you're not only going over that basic structure, you have to really think ahead as to what it's going to look like in the final product. Because at the end of the day, the inks are sort of like a, I like to think of it as a puzzle. Little tiny puzzle or a huge puzzle. This was a huge puzzle because of its details. And you have to put the pieces of the puzzle together because it can't just be randomly inked, like you're just going to throw inks here and there. And I've seen people do stuff like that when they ink and it looks horrid. There's a reason to the madness of inking. It's not just random, you know, spotting of blacks and just randomly applying ink everywhere. That's not going to work. Every ink line has a reason, and in my opinion, it has a purpose. If it doesn't have a purpose, why are you putting down the line? At least that's what I ask myself. Like in this particular example of the tree trunk, these original dot patterns were created by the penciler. So again, I stipulate for anyone who's learning comics or starting out there, please just do yourself a favor. Be legitimate about what you're doing. Take it seriously, and realize that when you ink someone else's work, you are paying an homage to them. You're trying to lift something up from its pencils, whether it's blue, non-repro blue, or graphite. And you are, again, it's just think of it as being a surgeon or a doctor. The first rule of a doctor is do no harm. So do no harm to the pencils. If anything, your job is to enhance the pencils and make them stand out. And in the best of inkers, actually, not only do that, but they also fall away to the wayside so that when it's printed, I guess, i.e. a comic book or a book or a single illustration, you notice the inks because it's obviously it's needed to print it, but you're not focusing on it. You're focusing on the entire arrangement, the entire pattern that was set up by your penciler, in this case, Mr. Franco. And your inks should be so good at the end of the day that you sort of fade away to the background, and no one's asking about you. This is not an ego trip. It should never be an ego trip when you're inking someone else's work. You're there to be really the ultimate assistant to a penciler. And sometimes, again, you could be penciling and inking your own stuff, and that comes with time if you practice your penciling. But if you're just inking someone else's work for fun or for business, or it's a contract that you've received, by all means, again, do no harm. There's too many. I think the entire comic book sphere is littered with inkers that didn't get the message, didn't get the memo when it came to that. And I won't mention names because, my not so liked inker might be someone else's preferred inker and so forth. And I don't want to get into a back and forth about all that. But I think that makes an inker stand out from the crowd of people that may have the same claim, but don't put in the same amount of effort. And as with anything else, including the pencils, you have to put in effort. There's several pages of a penciler that I'm inking on the side. I think I did a video about it already. I'm not sure if I've uploaded it yet. Let me check on us here. Okay, we've got time, and you've got a clear view. And that particular penciler, I can name him, and his name is Sanford Green. Well, when Sanford started out about 10, 15 years ago, and before he got, big, famous, and wonderful as he is, he was a solid penciler even in his original stages. But he would draw these really sort of busy street scenes and cityscapes that demanded a lot of attention. So just be aware of that. And when I've inked his work from back then, I had to get out the protractor, I had to get out the ruler, 18-inch ruler, and just go to town on it. For a lot of inkers, I've noticed that people just want to ink like, I don't know, flowery dresses and Superman. That's not the case. That's not how inking works. You have to go in there with the same totality of feeling to ink all of it. Everything that's on that page, whether it's a 9-panel grid, a 6-panel grid, a 3-panel grid, or it's just a pinup or a cover, and all of it is going to be covered and smothered in ink. Actually, preferably covered, not smothered, because if you're smothering it, you're doing, again, the pencils a disservice. Again, that's just my general experience of 30-odd years of dealing with this, doing this for myself and others here and there. Mostly, and none of you are going to find me on, I don't know, some kind of database, I doubt. So I haven't worked for Marvel or DC, so in case any new viewers are wondering about that. And that's okay. That itch has sort of moved on. And I much prefer to work on independent and creative stuff for myself or other people's stuff. Again, not dissing the major two, the big two as they call them, but it's not my bag. It's just whatever. Especially the way that things stand now with the companies. I think that when it comes to inkling and penciling modern day comics, whether you're doing it on a Wacom tablet or a Cintiq, or you're doing it by hand, which is very few people are doing it. I just read a piece on Facebook. I think it was posted by Jorge Jimenez, how he's like talking about how he did like 3 or 4 pages out of the new Batman series that he's working on, and he did it by hand, and all the other 20, whatever it was, 17, 18 pages were all done digitally. So okay, more power to him. That in and of itself is like, I mean, yes, it allows you to work faster, but there's just something's lost in all that. I'll continue to say that and beat that drum until the day that I die, but that's just me. Again, for the expediency of making money, and if you're that good and you're that fast and you can expedite that by getting onto a tablet and rendering all your stuff that way, hey, have at it. It's not my world. I think it's not a cheat, but it's just something other. It's not the comic book art art, sequential art as I know it, what I grew up with, and what I still prefer and love. So, like I told you all just at the beginning of the video, let me check the time. Okay, I'm going to check hold on, folks, I got to tilt the camera. Okay, we're good. Yeah, my 10 minutes just went up. And off the side, we have Mr. Lealo visiting us one more time. So here, you know what? We're just going to I'm not going to be able to wrap it up today. So this is going to be a 13th. By the way, folks, as you can tell here, I started the bear's hair. I know that a bear has fur, but because the character's mother in the animated movie got metamorphosed into a bear magically, they in the show, if I remember correctly, the movie, she had a flowing mane of hair, so it wasn't necessarily fur. So I inked it as if we're deep, lush locks of brown or black hair. So that's almost done. It looks just about done, but I need to give it one little pass. And over here, this area right here is going to be covered in ink. And then I think I'm being told from the outside that our time is up. So, as Steve just reminded us, yep, we're at the 15-minute mark. All right, I had to tilt that camera. All right, folks, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. If you've been so kind to stop by and visit or open up, or I came across your feed and you're one of our subscribers, thank you. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere else on the internet with anybody else, doing anything else and watching anything else for that matter. But instead, you decided to stop by here and take a look at this video. So I appreciate you for that. I thank each and every single one of you. And by all means, definitely give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and always, as always, subscribe. And I'll see you all on 13.2, the very last part. Take care of yourselves and each other. Let's see if we could flip this.